crates with like a full day ordeal. This time, these crates haven't been opened previously, so I'm hoping they'll open up a little bit easier this time. I'll go ahead and jinx it and say it's already going to be easier. So why would I get a second dyno? The short answer is having one dyno has actually become a huge bottleneck for me. Only able to do one car at a time. You know, can have 30, 40, 50 people trying to bring cars all at the same time. But with one machine, it just kind of stuck. And so many cars that come through have problems. So you might spend, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours on the actual tuning, but then you might spend 5 to 10 hours, you know, turning wrenches and, you know, troubleshooting and all that good stuff. So with two machines, we could have, you know, one set up for a car that's maybe we know is going to be problematic, or situationally where guys aren't in a rush, which is rare, but you know, they can drop the car off, we can set it up on the machine, and then as problems arise with cars on the other machine, then we can just bounce back and forth. Who knows, maybe one of these days I'll pick up an extra set of hands for around here, teach them how to drive the car on the dyno, and they can make a run. I can go back and forth with logs. And I have a handful of different people that I use for remote tuning. So in which case, if I had an extra set of hands just to drive a car, I could have set up a remote tune on second dyno. I could be working on the other dyno. Probably 2 years ago, I guess, I've basically quit taking in almost any work with the exception of a couple little small things like this Challenger here, Challenger, I can never remember the difference, but welding up, doing a few things on that before it goes on the dyno. Every now and then I'll do some intercooler piping or some basic fabrication work. Not taking in any of that mechanical work like that or fabrication work like that. There's a little bit of a void, and being able to have a second machine run two at the same time is going to fill that. So I'm pretty excited about this. This is going to be a huge help. Hopefully be able to get cars in and out of here quicker, which means obviously we can get new cars in, and I have to quit telling people to check back with me 150 times before they end up getting the car in, since we have no idea kind of what we're up against with each car. It seems like 1 out of 10 is actually ready for the dyno, and the other 9 all need some repairs and some fixing and troubleshooting, and you just have no idea how long it's going to take. So if you schedule 20 cars back to back and one of them has problems, you don't just take longer on that car. Now you got to call every person behind and say that, you know, now you're a day behind schedule, which by the time you get through all 20 of them, you're going to be 2 weeks behind schedule. Again, I'm just really hoping and really excited that this is going to hopefully help alleviate some of that. So why did I choose to go with another Pro Hub Dyno? There's no way we could do 3,000 horsepower cars in this building at the same time. The whole damn thing would fall down. The new dyno is actually a smaller model, but once you get used to using a hub dyno, it's very difficult to go back, even on lower powered cars. The steady state control is just so good. The repeatability of it's just awesome. Quite frankly, Mainline has just been one of the most amazing companies I have ever worked with. So when I was in the market for a second dyno, obviously they were the first people that I called. Yeah, it worked out really well. The other thing is I can roll these dynos around. I don't need to dig a 4-foot hole in the ground. I don't need a 4-post lift in order to operate it if I did want to keep it above ground. Actually, there's a 4-post lift behind me. I'm probably going to get rid of that or move it, and then this dyno is probably going to go there. And then we have some holes in the ceiling that we're going to run some exhaust ducting to, so we don't die while we're in here. Another cool thing by having 4 of the Pro Hubs is we can link them together and do all-wheel drive. I don't do much all-wheel drive stuff, but it's always cool to have that possibility. You never know, every now and then, just by having the ability to do something, then you end up doing a whole lot of it. I don't suspect that that's going to happen, but again, you never know. one down. Gotta get this one out. And this one is a computer, which is 1/10,000th lighter than these, so that one will be a lot easier to get out. This would be so much easier with a forklift, or just not having to do everything by yourself. And when I say that Mainline is the best company that I've ever dealt with in terms of this stuff, I have actually owned a Dynojet, rented a facility for several years with a Mustang dyno, and then I had a Dynapack Hub Dyno, and then purchased a second smaller Dynapack Hub Dyno. So I've had my hands in quite a bit of these things ever since I switched over to the Mainline. So I sold my all-wheel drive Dynapack to purchase the two-wheel drive Mainline dyno, which, you know, when you're getting rid of all-wheel drive to go two-wheel drive, maybe there's a little bit of hesitancy there. But after the very first car I did on the Mainline, I was like, I made the right decision, and it really, I couldn't be happier with it. My biggest complaint about it, I used to say joking around, was that I only had one, and I guess it wasn't really too much of a joke, because now we got two sitting here. The number one thing I learned last time I did this was use all of the crap to make yourself little ramps. It makes all the difference in the world. I get asked almost daily about our Mainline dyno, how we like it. Everyone wants to know pricing. I don't like talking about pricing on stuff like this. There's so many options and variables. So your best bet would be to contact Mainline if you're looking on any pricing, but always happy to help answer questions for guys that are looking to get into these things. Probably had a hand in selling 30, 40, 50 of these things. So if there's anything you'd like to know or anything you'd like to see videos on, there for a while I made a handful of different Mainline videos, and then I've just been so busy with everything else I haven't had a chance to make any more. And another question I get asked all the time is basically, how does this dyno compare to some of the other hub dyno options out there? I actually did like my Dynapack dyno. There was a few quirks with it that, in all honesty, could probably be fixed through software updates. But the main reason that I switched from the Dynapack to the Mainline is the Dynapack was just terrible / borderline unusable with high horsepower automatic cars. And the looser the torque converter was, the worse it got, when the Mainline solves all of those problems. Some of the other hub dynos out on the market, there's some handfuls of ones in different countries that we don't really see too much here in the USA, so I can't speak about those. There is one company in America that has their variation of a hub dyno, but I would rather pay full price for a Mainline dyno than use one of those if I was given it for free. So I think that should kind of put that into perspective as far as how I feel about that particular brand. A lot of that comes from pictures I've seen from people that I know that own the machines and some of the craftsmanship, but more importantly than any of that is the people on the other side of the company, and just how unprofessional they can be, especially social media and all that, and some of the personal interactions I've had with them. I'd sell the whole shop and quit tuning altogether before I use one of those machines. So when it comes to the hub dynos, at this point, if I needed 5 more, all 5 of them would be Mainline. I wouldn't even consider any of the other brands. And for what it's worth, I don't get paid by Mainline. I don't necessarily have any affiliation with them in that regard. I just am that firm of a believer in the product. Looks like everything survived the ride, so that's good.